Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to do the single crochet herringbone stitch. It's obvious why it's called the herringbone because it gives you those beautiful arrow-like stitches. The pattern looks great horizontally or vertically. This is not a stitch for an absolute beginner. The herringbone stitch is a variation of a single crochet stitch, so it's worked like a single crochet, but where we put the hook is different. We'll also be using inverse stitches, which can be very tricky and you really have to be mindful of where you're putting the crochet hook. I'm going to walk you through this pattern step by step and give you some tips along the way. It's a good idea to work with a small swatch and practice until you feel comfortable and get the hang of it. You can use any yarn and crochet hook that you like. I think this pattern looks beautiful using a bulky yarn. I'll be using Bernat Softy Chunky and a size L 8.0 millimeter crochet hook. So grab some yarn and a crochet hook and let's have fun crocheting this beautiful single crochet herringbone. Start with a slip knot and make a chain any length that you want. If you'll be using the pattern vertically, make enough chains to the height of your project. If you're using the pattern horizontally, you'll make a chain to the width of your project. So chain any number plus 1. For this demonstration, I'll be chaining 10 plus 1. For this pattern, it's important to make your chains and your stitches looser than you normally would. You'll start with a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. For a nice finished edge, you can work into the back bumps of the chain. When you turn the chain over, you can easily see the back bumps sticking up. For this demonstration, I'll just work into the back loop of the chain. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. We start each row with a single crochet and it tends to be a little smaller than our next stitches, so pull that loop up tall. Yarn over and pull through both loops. For the rest of the row, we use a single crochet herringbone stitch. It's worked like a single crochet stitch, except we first wrap our crochet hook around the left leg of the previous stitch or the stitch we just completed. Then we insert the hook into the next stitch, or in this case, the next chain. Insert the hook around the left leg of that previous stitch. And now insert the hook into the next chain. Yarn over and pull up a loop. It's very important to pull that loop up tall to the height of your stitch. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. That's your single crochet herringbone stitch. We'll repeat that across the row. Insert your hook around the left leg of the previous stitch, then insert the hook into the next chain. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Pull it up tall to the height of the stitch. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Continue by inserting the hook around the left leg of the previous stitch, then inserting it into the next chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Pull it up tall. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. We'll do that again. Insert the hook around the left leg of the previous stitch, then insert it into the next chain. Yarn over and pull up a loop. pull it up tall. Then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Insert the hook around the left leg of the last stitch, then into the next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, pull it up tall, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. When we're working on any uneven numbered row, it's the right side of the work, and the stitches will slant to the left. The second row and any even numbered row will be the wrong side of the work, and the stitches will slant to the right. Continue with the herringbone stitch, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. Your stitches should look like this at the end of row 1. Before we start row 2, let's take a look at our stitches. We're used to working under both top loops of a stitch. When we turn the work over, you can see that there's a third loop on the back of the stitch, similar to a half double crochet. This extra loop is created when we wrap our hook around the left leg of the previous stitch. For all remaining rows, it's important that we include that third loop by inserting our hook under both top loops as well as the third loop. Chain 1 and turn the work. It's important to turn your work just as you see me doing here so that the working yarn is at the front of the work. For row 2 and all even numbered rows, we'll be working inverse stitches. So instead of inserting our hook from front to back, we'll be inserting our hook from back to front. This is the more complicated row, and it will feel very awkward to you if you've never done an inverse stitch before. We start the row with an inverse single crochet in the first stitch. So tilt the work toward you and insert your hook into that first stitch. Make sure you're coming out underneath that third loop from the side that's facing you. Holding the working yarn in the front of the work, you're going to turn the hook side down, yarn over, and while you're pulling that loop up to the back, rotate your hook so that it's hook side up. Make sure you pull that loop up to the height of your stitch, then yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. That completes the inverse single crochet. For the rest of the row, we'll be doing an inverse herringbone single crochet. So we first insert the hook around the left leg of the previous stitch and then insert it into the next stitch. Make sure the crochet hook comes out underneath that third loop on the side that's facing you. It's important to tilt the work toward you so that you can see where you're inserting the hook. As you become more comfortable with the stitch, you may not need to tilt it as much. Tilt the work toward you and insert the hook around the left leg of the first stitch, then into the next stitch. Coming out on the side facing you under the third loop. Turn the hook side down, yarn over, and pull that loop up to the back. Pull it up tall. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Again, make sure that you're crocheting these stitches loosely. We'll do that again. Tilt the work toward you. Insert your hook around the left leg of the previous stitch. Insert it into the next stitch, coming out underneath that third loop. Turn it hook side down and yarn over, pulling it through to the back. Pull that loop up tall. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. We'll do that again. Turn the work toward you. Insert your hook around the left leg of the previous stitch, then into the next stitch, coming out underneath the third loop of the side facing you. Turn it hook side down, yarn over, and pull up a loop to the back nice and tall. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Tilt the work toward you, insert the hook around the left leg of the previous stitch and then into the next stitch, coming out underneath the third loop. Turn it hook side down, yarn over and pull a loop up to the back nice and tall. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. You'll continue working the inverse herringbone single crochet across the row. It's important to check your stitches occasionally. It's very easy to insert your hook in the wrong place, and that will really throw off the pattern and it'll stick out like a sore thumb. So if you're not checking the work as you go, at least check it after you finish each row so that you don't have to undo a lot of your work. Because we start each row with a regular single crochet, you won't have that third loop when you do the last stitch of the next round. You'll just go under the 2 top loops of the stitch. At the end of row 2, your work should look like this on the wrong side, and here's the right side. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn your work so that the working yarn is on the back side of the work. You'll repeat rows 1 and 2 until you reach the height or width that you want. For row 3, we're back on the right side. We'll start the row with a single crochet, making sure the hook comes out underneath the third loop on the back side. Yarn over and pull up a loop, pull it up tall, yarn over and pull through both loops on the hook. We begin the herringbone single crochet by inserting the hook around the left leg of the previous stitch and then into the next stitch, coming out underneath the third loop. Yarn over and pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, pull it up tall, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Insert your hook under the left leg of the last stitch and then into the next stitch. Coming out under the third loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull it up tall, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. You'll continue the herringbone single crochet across the row. Your work should look like this after completing the third row. You can see the diagonal stitches forming the arrow shape. At the end of row 3, chain 1 and turn your work so that the working yarn is at the front. We'll be doing our inverse stitches. We start with an inverse single crochet in the first stitch. Tilt the work toward you, insert your hook in the first stitch, coming out underneath the third loop on the side that's facing you. Yarn over and pull up a loop tall. Yarn over and pull through both loops on the hook. We'll be doing an inverse herringbone single crochet for the rest of the row. Insert the hook around the left leg of the previous stitch and then into the next stitch, making sure the hook comes out underneath the third loop on the side that's facing you. Tilt the hook down, yarn over, and pull up a loop tall. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Continue with the inverse herringbone single crochet across the row. Here's a look at the wrong side of the work and the right side of the work. I love how this stitch looks using chenille yarn. I used Bernat baby blanket for this example. If you found this tutorial helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me grow my channel. And if you're not already a subscriber, click that subscribe button and notification bell so that you don't miss out on future videos.